Okay, think I think I have everything sorted. Hello, how are we? Hopefully we are doing good. Happy Friday, because it is Friday. Happy first Friday of March. I have things that I need to get done in terms of writing, and I have 3 notebooks over to the side. Um, one is the sort of like what I had dedicated to morning prompts, so like short-term prompt pages rather than just like morning pages. Um, then I have the bullet journal, and then I have the temporary goal journal. And then I also have the draft document that I'm pulling up currently. I'm going to slide that over to, oops, where'd it go? There it is. Okay, making sure it's on the right monitor. But yeah, how do we do? How do we do over Wednesday evening, Thursday? Let's see. I have spent a little bit of time outside, did a little bit more house maintenance stuff, caulked some of the holes, nail holes in the siding so that we can paint them in a couple days. I could paint them today, but it's supposed to rain tonight, I think. So maybe not. Maybe I'll just wait until we have another like several days of no rain anticipated, which will be maybe not next week. Anyway, that may change. So, but yeah, so I have temporary I have notebook for short-term prompts. I have bullet journal, and I have my lemons notes for temporary experimentation for journaling, or for goal journaling, I should say. Have that, have the document up, like really feel the need to get some work done because I feel like I got some done on Wednesday, but I feel like I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. And then Thursday I had a doctor's appointment. So like again, chunk of the day taken out. So hopefully I can get some stuff done. But it's also Friday, and Friday is a day of trying to be creative in a fun way because I feel like I feel like academics has trained me that Friday is a day where we get some stuff done, but then we also like get to do the fun stuff because it's the beginning of the weekend. So after 12 years of public school plus, or well, I guess technically more because kindergarten and whatnot. Anyway, so 12 plus years of public school, then undergrad, then grad school. I feel like Fridays are sort of ingrained. And then also like working, like regular corporate type. It's not really corporate, but regular scheduled weekends off job means Friday again holds that sort of that spot in your brain for the beginning of the weekend, the beginning of the fun. So that's sort of where my brain is at. So I'm not sure how much that I'm going to get done, but I will try to work on at least the 3 physical before popping into the digital drafting. That's my soft plan for the day. Monique says, "Hey y'all, hello, welcome, and welcome." Stacy says, "Good afternoon, hello." Kara says, "You pulled the enchanted map already. You're just here, like on the ball, ready to go." Making a choice. It's number 30. You are required to come to a decision now. Ooh. Do you have something that you are at a decision point of? Or is Is this in regards to a character, yourself? But yeah, decisions are important, especially since I am indecisive, and so I like have to sort of force myself to make a decision, because if I don't make a decision, like the decision is oftentimes going to get made for me. And so having that sort of that thought in your brain is kind of need to make a decision. And then with characters, having a character sort of waffle back and forth over and over again on an issue or on a relationship is irritating. It's very irritating. It's one of the reasons why who does the I think it's Laurel K. Hamilton, who does the Anita Blake series. And initially, it was not set up as a full why choose, reverse harem, if you will. But it you get set up in the first like 3 books that there are 2 main love interests. And she's constantly sort of like back and forth between them. And I'm just like, this is getting really irritating. And then by the time the 5th book rolled around and there's another character added, I'm like, okay, I can see where this is going. and it was irritating because it was Anita Blake's sort of refusal to make a choice that made several other aspects of the plot line come up and be a hindrance that could have just been solved if she had made a choice. And so I did not finish the Anita Blake's series 1 because it just goes on for forever. But also because I was irritated at her inability to make a choice. And I think if it had been framed differently, if I had known from the start that it was going to be a why choose, I would have gone into it with a different mentality, and it would have been fine. But I think because there was no indication that it was going to be a why choose until like book 3, when typically trilogies sort of like wind up, and so if you like don't know that there's 8 other books coming after it, and she's still struggling to make a decision at the end of book 3. Yeah. Anyway, so maybe you need to make a decision. Maybe your character needs to make a decision. Maybe you need to make it clear from the beginning that it's a why choose situation. Either way. Monique says, I am doing some virtual assistant stuff for weeknight writers. Nice. Excellent. Also, one of your friends made a trailer for Drum of the Undead. Ooh, exciting. I got my dad one of the like page a day calendars, but his is fact or crap. And so there's a statement about some sort of supposed fact on the front, and you have to try and guess whether it's actual fact or just something that's made up. And they tell you on the back. One of the ones he had recently was about trailers, and that trailers used to be, they were called trailers because they used to come at the end of the movies, because they trailed the movie, and then people just left right after the movie, and so none of them were seen. So then they started putting the trailers at the beginning of the movie at the cinemas. So there you go. There's another tidbit of fact for you. Trailers used to be called trailers because they trailed the movie. Kara says you're going to get some fiction writing in today. Nice. Excellent. Sorry, my watch was vibrating at me. Mom Maggie says, hello, lovelies. Hello. Welcome. Kara says, I often worked weekends, so the Monday equals bad, Friday equals good doesn't apply to you. Yeah. And that's, a lot of people find that is sort of like once you get out of school and you work in a job that is not necessarily Monday through Friday, you find that doesn't hold a whole lot of weight anymore. but I find that my brain still feels a little loosey-goosey on Friday and wants to have fun. So Elizabeth says, hi, everyone. Hello. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Kara says, not sure. You're just indecisive anyway, and ever since your mother died, you've had trouble finishing fiction projects. Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, hopefully you can work on that fiction project today and maybe get a little closer to finishing. Mom Maggie is editing Servants of the Moon, and to the part where the first love of the Delphi Oracle sacrifices his life to save hers. The worst part is she always knew he would die and told him, and he was glad to. That's the one thing about oracles and fates and like all of that is you have to sort of make the decision as to whether or not the characters are going to fulfill their fate, fight their fate and win, or you know, all of that kind of thing. So oracles and fates are always kind of an interesting situation and characters to build. So Stacy drew the Emperor, which is the Aries card, and you are also an Aries. Nice. Mom Maggie's continuing the thought. He was glad to die if it meant saving her so that she could save the world. Gotcha. Monique says, one of my friends online is reminding everyone that Sarah J. Maas used Breonna Taylor's death to promote her book. Yeah. And the fact that she had disappeared for so long and then goes on a podcast and to talk about things and then is like, oh, by the way, here's the release date. It's like everybody knew that was coming. But yeah. But the using somebody else's tragic and traumatic death to promote your own livelihood seems very wrong in a lot of fashions. Monique says, what you said also reminded me of Jessie Corinne's Year of Goober reading challenge. Yeah, I have not updated my reading journal, so that's another thing that needs to happen that I've been avoiding. Oh, the lemon tart prompt. Gotcha, because the lemon notebook. Gotcha. Monique says, I'm planning to give Anne Rice a second chance by reading Queen of the Damned. Interesting. Okay. So did you try reading Vampire Lestat? Diary of... what was it? Sorry, my brain just blanked. Interview with a Vampire. There we go. I was like, Diary of a Vampire. That's not right. Interview with a Vampire. Was that the one that you tried first? Or... So I found that I wasn't in love with her interview, like, story plot lines, but I did have an interesting time. She's got, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Essentially, the premise is that there is a young man who has been a hitman for his professional life, and he is sent to deal with a particular character, and things go very, very wrong. And he is then sent back in time by angels to experience sacrificing himself for others. And so it's an interesting plot line. It is pretty religious heavy. But it was a very interesting plot line, and it's set up so that there is going to be sequels or whatever. So I really liked the premise. I will say I really liked the premise. I didn't love everything about what the entirety of it and the way that it unfolded, but I really loved the premise. And I'm not like giving it its due justice, but it's very intriguing. And the timeline is really interesting, and just sort of like where the angel plops him in time. Like it's a very interesting read. much, to me, it was more interesting than her vampire stuff. Which, like, a lot of people love her interview with a vampire and whatnot. So anyway, when he says, I still hate Lestat, though. Okay. Kara says, I avoid booktube drama and avoid TikTok in general. So I don't know who Sarah J. Maas is, but that sounds like a terrible choice on her part. Sarah J. Maas is probably the biggest writer in romance at the moment and has been for a while. She has what seems like never-ending series. And like all the names are so similar that I don't know that if I can tell you, like, it's like crown of this and that, court of this and that, house of this and that. Like, pick any of one of the romantic-y words and plop them in, and it's probably hers. So she's everywhere. She's kind of like, I want to say that she is the James Patterson of romance in terms of like the sheer number of books. Kind of, sort of. Kara says, anything will be a little closer to finishing since it's a new project. True. That is true. Yeah. You've dumped every story that you've started for this anthology so far. Oh, no. Maybe this one will be the one then. You've read both Interview with Vampire and Vampire Lestat, and you hate Lestat. Anne Rice is almost a literary read. Yeah. Queen of the Damned drags so much in some places. Yeah, that was one of the, I think pacing was one of my issues with her. It's like reading Dune, but with vampires. I think I like Dune better. So, Anne Rice was an interesting person. Yes, I would agree with that. You learned a lot about her from watching the Grim Life Co. YouTube channel. Monique says, thanks for the warning. The thing I just don't want to be, the thing is you don't want to be in Lestat's head. He's so obnoxious. Kara says, I don't really follow any of the big name romance writers. Without romance, you tend to read, with romance, you tend to read small press and indie authors. Gotcha. Mom Maggie says, I have DNF'd every Sarah J. Maas that you started. You just didn't like her heroine. They say book 4 and beyond is better, but you'd already given up on the author at that point. Yeah, I mean, like her books are pretty chunky in terms of like size. So I did not hear about her until I think she was already like six to 8 books in. And then I basically heard through the grapevine that they were kind of sort of fairy slash porn. And then they were like also the people that you thought were going to be end up together, and the romance that was building turns out they were siblings. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that. Yeah, no thank you to the incest. And so like all the things that I was hearing through the grapevine, I was like, that main character, that male main character love interest sounds like a bunch of red flags. And it's like, if I'm gonna read a red flag romance, like I'll go for one that I specifically know is a red flag romance, rather than one that I think is going to be okay, and then turns out, just kidding, they were siblings all along. Yeah, no, I'd rather not have surprise incest. Like, no, thank you. So I have had some hesitation. So I have never really gotten into Sarah J. Maas. I think at some point I may have to read them just to be kind of figure out where some of the market has shifted as like research, but I don't think that I will read her entire series. So there's that. What is up with fantasy authors and incest? So I think this is sort of a holdout of harkening back to medieval times, because a lot of fantasy is like sort of medieval vibes, and you had very limited amounts of travel, and you had very limited amounts of ways to keep the power in the family. And so eventually there was a lot of cousins and like very close relatives going on. And so I think some of that is related. Some of it is also just like, it's an uncomfy thing. And in order to have the extra ick put on a character, you put them in this category of they do something that no one should ever do. And so I feel like it is a kind of easy way to disgust your readers with these particular characters. And so, yeah, so yes, Kara is right here. Incest can be used as an illustration of corruption, the fact that your characters have zero morals, or that they're just really fucked up. And so, yeah. So I feel like it's being used to make sure that your characters that you are not intending to ever redeem stay irredeemable, if that makes sense. George R. R. Martin, Cassandra Clare, and now Sarah J. Maas. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that George R. R. Martin probably intended to have that from the get-go. I don't know about SJM, because I feel like maybe she got a plot twist in her brain after she wrote the first two or something, from what I understand. Again, haven't read them, so I don't exactly know what the timeline is. So yeah, it's kind of like we all know that J.K. Rowling was originally going to pair Hermione with Harry. We all know that. It's there based in the foreshadowing and how the characters are like built. And then she veered off and had Hermione with Ron, and everybody's like, it works, but not well. It's sort of kind of anyway. People are like, it's too obvious, and she's like, oh, you're right. Okay, let's switch it. So yeah. Anyway. You had so many issues with consent, and the main girl character, Feyre, what I don't actually know how to say her name, was unbelievably stupid. Yeah, I've heard this too. Like, how could she grow up the way she did and still be such a fragile drama girl? Yeah. Yeah, incest is all because they're all enamored with the corruption of the olden French court. I think probably not just the French court, but yeah. Cassandra Clare's stuff is modern urban fantasy, though. Yes, but it's all part and parcel. In terms of like, you have taken something fundamental about the world and you have flipped it and because of the fantasy element of things that were not acceptable, like in terms of you physically can't do this or it doesn't exist, have been flipped on their head, and now suddenly magic exists, or like spirits exist, type of something else in the ether exists. And so then you have that, well, maybe these other things are allowed. I don't know. You feel that's how George R. R. Martin used it? Not so much with Cassandra Clare. Her fanfic was about Ron and his sister. Yikes. Cassandra Clare is another author you DNF'd repeatedly. You think you still have a copy of her first trilogy somewhere. They are space holders on a bookshelf. Do you need the space for other books, though, is the question. So, yoink, if you don't want them. Kira's like, I've never read any of these authors. I know who George R. R. Martin is, but I've never read him, and I've never seen Game of Thrones. Okay, so with George R. R. Martin, I feel like the first several are definitely worth reading, like 100% worth reading. But at some point, I think it was after the third book, I stopped reading them because I was like, well, I'm going to wait till he's done, because they were coming out. I think the fourth one was out, but then they were waiting on the fifth one to come out. And in the pace that I was reading, I was like, I'm going to blow through this, in under a week, and I'm going to want the next one. So I just stopped reading. I was like, I'm going to wait till he's closer to done. And then he got distracted by the TV shows and screenwriting for them. And then he's made enough money that he never has to write another one. He doesn't. And the same thing with Patrick Rothfuss. He took 10 years while he was working as a professor and wrote The Name of the Wind. Is that the right first one? The Kingslayer Chronicles series. And so he wrote the first one while he was working. And he made enough money from that he retired. And then bought a farm and started a meadery for his hobby. And he occasionally is on stream writing, but he's more often on stream making a tabletop RPG game with his friends than he is writing. And so it's I don't know if he's ever gonna finish the series because he's made enough money he doesn't have to. So yeah. Mom Maggie says to Kara, knowing what you like, you probably would not like any of the big authors that we've been discussing. Yeah. Mom Maggie says, no, I just keep tricking hubby into getting another bookshelf. Nice. The Crow qualifies as modern urban fantasy. The main villain and his half-sister are in a sexual relationship. It's a plot device to show that he's rotten to the core. Gotcha. Makes sense. The wind is making your internet blink. I read that and sort of switched the internet and the wind. So the internet was making your wind blink, and that didn't make any sense to my brain. Ooh, Kara says it's snowing. Ooh, you had to rearrange your oil change. You're not driving 60 miles in the snow. Yeah, you're a coward. I mean, it's very sensible, I think. You've given up hope that he's going to finish the books, but at least there's fan fiction. And at least we have the comfort of knowing that somewhere out there on the forums, there is the correct ending that George R. R. Martin originally intended. Because he straight up admitted it. And he was like, yeah, I have to change the ending because somebody figured out what I was going to do. So I have to change it. Elizabeth says, I refuse to be one of the people waiting for the last Game of Thrones book. So I will not start until I see the whites of the new book eyes. Yeah. Until then, I had canon a better ending than the show. Yeah. Well, and that was because he refused to discuss what his true ending was supposed to be. So he left the writers and the producers to make a decision. And my guess is he did that to kind of gauge the public's reaction to one of the endings that he was considering. And since it did not go over well, I think he's going to avoid that ending. So George R. R. Martin is very sneaky. It's weird. That part of the Crow annoyed you. Dollar is bad. We get it. You don't need to have him sleep with his sister. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. When Game of Thrones was just getting popular, you saw a 10-year-old with a copy. You had to explain to his mom that it wasn't D&D meets McCaffrey's Pern. She was horrified. Yeah, it definitely is not. It definitely is not. That's for sure. But I love Pern. I love McCaffrey. Ooh, Ashley says, I might release my book early today. We shall see. Ooh, you're on a solo writing retreat in North Conway. Nice. Excellent. I love it. And you're just like at the point where like, I might just do it early. Yes. Conspiracy theory that last Game of Thrones is already available in hell, but you only get to the last 2 chapters and never get to read those. I know. That would be definitely a terrible, terrible punishment. Okay, let's do the cats and card and then get going because we've been chatting for 30 minutes. Apologies, but not really. Sorry, but not sorry. I like chatting with y'all. Okay, we have Authentically Me. I arched my own drum. I think maybe there was a bug or something that scared the cat. And then we have Friday. So cute. Look at that precious little face. You think you're the only one with childhood trauma? Mama Cat just killed a chipmunk and she's not sharing. Oh no. Poor little sad pumpkin. So cute. Those little murder mittens really want the chipmunk, don't they? Cute. Very, very cute. Okay, and we are still out of focus, but that's okay because we'll get the oops, I pressed something. Ooh, we get the whale today. Trust the Great Mystery. It's number 65. 61. 64. 65. Okay, so we have the whale, which is coming out of sort of like this wave of galaxy and star. Trust the Great Mystery. Oops, we're still out of focus. Let's see if it'll bring it back into focus. No. How about, oh, now it's delayed response. Okay, here we go. The whale is an ancient creature who is here at the beginning of time and who has seen everything, felt everything, and heard everything that has ever transpired on this planet. In the hidden realms where all things must first gather before manifesting into form, the whale is the keeper, singing the soul, the whole world, from the deepest waters of the coldest ocean. When the whale appears, it is a reminder that there is a great mystery that you must accept without intellectually trying to understand it. Some things cannot be known by the mind, only experienced through the heart, through the intuition, and through the peripheral senses that part the invisible veils that separate the visible world from the great manifesting consciousness within the hidden realms. Now is a time for you to immerse yourself in the great mystery of spirit and to trust that within the invisible, what you cannot see are the seeds of your intentions being tended to by the angels. So there you go. Oh, I love Elizabeth Wheatley's skits. Yes, if y'all have not found Elizabeth Wheatley here on YouTube and on Instagram, hilarious. Hilarious. Love the book Hella, love the book Goblin. Fantastic. And also her skits with the different romance genre heroines. Fantastic. She's great. All hail the feline overlords. Yes. The kitties. Ashley says, wow, I drank half a cup of this hotel coffee and now I'm wired. Well, you should be able to get lots of things done then. Hopefully so. Ashley agrees that Elizabeth Wheatley is hilarious. Yes. But Gremlin is one of your spirit creatures. Yes. 100% agree. Monique says, I drew the Page of Wands. Ooh, from your Buffy Tarot deck. You wonder if the Page of Wands represents one of the characters in the Drama of the Undead. The page is sort of, can be a student card, like a student or a learner. So if you have like maybe an understudy or an intern that might fit. I mean, I know some of your characters are still students, but yeah. Mom Maggie says, I think Elizabeth Wheatley's rant skits are hysterical. She's also a historian, yes, and I think she knows better than the comment trolls. Yes, absolutely. Agreed. Okay, so the poll for today, oops, I just popped that out. The poll for today is about whether or not your main character had a childhood sweetheart. So in terms of the childhood sweetheart, yes, they had one, and it is the current love interest. So they stayed interested, or they're back in their life and they're interested again. Or yes, they had a childhood sweetheart, but the childhood sweetheart is no longer in the picture, whether they passed away, whether they turned out to be not a great human being, or other being, whatever it is, that kind of thing. Or no, the main character was focused on survival, didn't have time to think about anything beyond that. Or no, the main character just wasn't interested in love as a child/young person. Okay, let's do the sprinty sprint. I'm gonna pull up the timers. I still have not finished my flower timer. I need to go back in and pick out some more of the short video clips of spring flowers. Okay. Let's do this. 1, save your document. 2, make sure you take a sip of whatever it is you're hydrating with. Cheers. 3, straighten your spine, roll your shoulders back for that posture check. Make sure you're not slouching too much. And 4 is if you need a break, take a break. Here we go. 30 minutes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Almost done. Okay, so I have started on my second notebook. So what I'm doing is I have picked a word, a concept, if you will, or a word and then multiple concepts to go with it. And I'm sort of doing some short journaling on unfolding those ideas. So I'm having a little bit of fun with it because, so my prompt word was watch. And so I came up with sort of like 3 categories of things. A keeper of time, which could be either an object or an entity. So that can unfold into 2 ideas. Guarding against invasions or attacks from enemies. Watch in that regard. So it's like if you like keep watch for the camp or the tower or whatever. Or you have the observer type of watch, which that can again be split into like an impersonal inspector type, or something more biased, something more like along the lines of stalker type thing. So it could be somebody who like doesn't want to get involved, just like is there as a record keeper. Could also be someone who is like spying with ill intentions, that kind of thing. So I'm sort of like trying to go through these ideas, and like the first one that I tackled was the keeper of time object. And so I'm like, okay, well, if we have some sort of artifact that can affect time, like maybe do a rewind of some sort or travel through time, not sure what, again, still just sort of like kind of idea, very cola, very ephemeral in my brain just yet. But then I'm like, okay, well, who makes the object? Is it the dwarves? Is it the dragons? If we go with the dragon side, it's kind of interesting because then you have to decide, well, how did the dragon make it? Is it just a physical manifestation of magic formula or like something magic wise? And then you have to consider, well, if it's made by the dragon purely by magic, what size is it? Is it dragon sized? Is it human sized? Why would it be human sized? And then I'm like, okay, do we have like a rogue dragon who just has made this like artifact of time that is just doing it to cause chaos in the mortal realms? Like, well, what happens when it does cause chaos? Do the mortal realms fight over this thing, then discover that it's made by a dragon, and then go on a dragon hunt? Like, is there going to be great war that happens? Is this some sort of like world building thing for something that happened in the past or something that is currently happening? You know, so I'm like trying to unfold these ideas in my brain. But I kind of like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the idea of a dragon that just wants to sow chaos. What does that say about me? I don't know. It probably says something that I'm like, yes, I want a dragon who, for no other reason than shits and giggles, will make a human-sized artifact of time and just like toss it and see what happens. Yeah, chaos is what's going to happen, I'm sure. So anyway, that's the kind of the exercise that I'm doing, is like taking a concept, breaking it down into the different kind of categories that I can think of, and then expanding upon those and seeing where it leads. I think this is better for me than like morning pages where I just like grumble about, I don't want to be up yet, I'm tired, my feet hurt, you know, whatever it is. So I think this, hopefully if I can continue this is a better modification of morning pages for myself, even though it's clearly not morning. Clearly not morning. Yeah, we chatted for almost 40 minutes. Yes, we did. It happens. Ashley's making all the Amish words in your book in italics and then formatting. Then it'll be done. Ooh, nice. You're so close. Okay, that was where I finished with the bullet journal. Did that. That didn't take as long as I was worried it would. So it's fantastic. But I have a feeling this this journal is going to take me longer than I thought it was going to. So Diane snuck in to continue working. Welcome, Diane. Monique is currently being weirded out by the fact that both of your novels have Jane looking at ledgers because the vampires are committing white-collar crimes. Okay, so are you feeling weirded out because you think it's too repetitive, like it's already happened once, it shouldn't happen again? If that's the case, did the vampires learn nothing from the last book and not try and hide the ledger and or their white-collar crimes in a different way? Because I would say if you're feeling like it's too repetitive, then you need to sort of change up how it's being presented. It's peak Capricorn of you. Mom Maggie says immortality has its perks. Long-term financial fraud is one of them. True. Your Dark Prince in Relic of the Time Wars uses his longevity to amass billions. I mean, honestly, like if you're gonna live for an eternity, if you stay broke, you're doing something wrong. That's all I can say. Monique says it also comes from me being obsessed with white-collar crimes, white-collar, burn notice, and leverage, which all center around people dealing with villains doing white-collar crimes. Gotcha. Why did I just realize that my vampires are basically like their own mafia? I mean, they kind of are in most vampire romances because they have like this small family enclave. Family loyalty matters, blood matters. Pun intended. So that kind of thing. So you're getting numb your butt from sitting too long. Well, stand up and stretch, walk around. Do you still have a box to unpack / organize in your office? If that's where you are, the ledgers are actually going to help with setting up the bigger picture. Okay. If that's the case, can you sort of condense or shrink the amount of time that you just spend discussing, finding, and looking at the ledgers? Because if you've already explained it once in book 1, can you sort of more briefly go over it rather than going into all the details with book 2? Funky is here, and Funky is excited that it is Friday. Diane is also excited to see Funky. That's my new nickname for you. TGIF, thank goodness it's Friday. Oh gosh. Okay. So, Diane says there are a few things in here. Electrician came yesterday, and because the silly guy didn't want to be electrocuted, he kept turning the power off. I mean, as much as we wish that, it would get done faster, there is, oh, numb butt. Okay, got it, Funky, gotcha. But yeah, we do want the electricians to be hale and hearty when they leave, right? Otherwise, lawsuits. We don't want lawsuits. We want to avoid the lawsuits, if at all possible. Also, it's now raining. It says we're supposed to get an inch of rain in an hour. It's sprinkling relatively steadily. Oh, the power stuff is all original to the house, 1924. Ooh. Yeah, that needs to be checked on just to make sure. And yes, we do not want, that does sort of when it's been there for a really, really long time, sometimes that does make you worry about whether the coating on the wire is still good, still protective, all that kind of good stuff. It is snowing where Carrie is, yes. Okay. Kara says we had to have our house rewired while we were moving in. Yeah. They had to rewire at least, well, replumb. I'm not sure how much rewiring they did. But they had to replumb the bathrooms because it was empty and like foreclosed and abandoned for a while before the flippers picked it up. And so in the meantime, while it was sitting empty, somebody broke in and ripped the copper pipes and things out. So anyway, we had to have a little bit redone, but we didn't have everything. So we'd been side-eyeing the plug since before you moved in. No, the wiring is updated, but they kept the original plug-ins and switches. Oh, but it was time to replace them to be totally safe. Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. I don't think you can see it from here. Yeah, it's like over here, which you can't see it because the bookshelf is in the way. We switched up the light switch in my room because it was getting stuck and it wouldn't do. And we also took that opportunity to switch out the plates that were behind it. We had a couple of, I want to say we had like maybe 8 light switch and like we had a couple of like plug coverings, like plug cover plates, whatever you call it, that were embossed and burned wood designs. So like mine has trees and deer, and mom's has flowers and like bunnies and trees, and dad's has like an eagle and trees, and like we have several woodland landscape type things. And I've tried to search for more because like I would love to be able to switch them all out, but unfortunately I've not been able to find something that is similar, and they didn't have names on, like company names on them, so I can't go and find. Anyway, you had to do the replumbing too in the old septic tank. Yeah, I'm just, hopefully we do not have to do our septic tank. Diane says he's going to come back and add a few more. We haven't been in the attic yet. Don't have a ladder tall enough. Ooh, okay. And he didn't bring a ladder. Dying to see what's up there yourself. As long as it's not bats. As long as it's not bats. A couple of light switches had a metal ball toggle. Ooh, that seems dangerous if the wiring is a little. Thought we had saved one for posterity, but we can't find it now. The electrician may have tossed it when cleaning up after himself. Ah, okay. We'd have a small amount of work on the sewer. Very thankful for locals and trades. Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty, let's do this. You're curious if they put anything like wainscoting or wood beams up there. Oh, historical stuff. Yes. Okay, it's raining a little harder. And let's do another sprint. It'll be another 30-minute sprint. I can get the timer to the appropriate spot. Ooh, perfect. And numbers on woods. Still not convinced it's not a Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, let's do this. Don't forget to do your self-promo, and also don't forget to vote in the poll if you haven't already done so. Here we go. 1, save your document. 2, make sure you take a sip. Cheers. 3, straighten your spine or roll your shoulders back for that posture check. Make sure you're not slouching too much. And 4, if you need a break, please take a break for stretching and or putting on real pants. Here we go. 30 minutes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. How do we do? Somewhere I have misplaced, but somewhere I had a note where I had authortube friends and their book release dates. I have misplaced it, so I'm having to start over. So I was intending to do spots for my reading journal, and so Mom Maggie mentioning that yours is coming out, and actually mentioning that yours is coming out. So I was trying to go back through, and I know Kate's is coming out at some point this year, but I can't remember what date. The thanks for watching. I don't know. So if you have any specific here we go. Kate's comes out April 21. Anyway. At some point, I will get the list reconfigured. But for now, I at least have 4 or 5. So let's see. Kara has new book promos up at Reader's Roost. Very nice. Good job. You also have new posts up on your Substack, naughtynetherworldpress.substack.com. Mom Maggie updated, my moon is waxing. So here's the link for that, for the podcast. Relic of Time Wars number 13. It comes out March 20th, so I now have that in my reading journal, so I can reference that again. Monique says, trailer for the drama The Undead. Here's the link for that. Excellent. This is the one your friend made, right? And then a link to My Ex's Vampire. Stace says, I spent reading. Still are reading. Funky got work writing done, and has brewed the coffee. Woot! Excellent. Good job. Diane is working on best ideas for content buckets. Tried to ignore hubby when asked why I have post-it notes stuck to your window. It's a test. Interesting. What are you testing? Are you testing how long they'll stay there? Or if there's a whole lot of condensation? Or air leaking? I mean, there's multiple tests that you can do with post-it notes, so. But better than being stuck to your forehead, says Funky. Funky. Apparently Funky sounds like Diane's hubby. Your lunch was coffee and ramen, it looks like. Tasty. Funky approves. At least of the coffee part, right? But probably also the ramen part. Yeah, so I have a pathetic start to a list again. So here's my indie self-published authortube book releases. I swear I had like a whole running list somewhere, and I thought that I kept it back here in the little pocket, but there is nothing. There is nothing. So I've got to figure that out. I've also got to set up March pages and do a February rewind. So yeah. That way I can use more stickers. But yeah, so if you know of any specific dates, if you have specific dates for yours coming up in mind, remember to let me know so that I can pop them in there. And then I have not started on the goal journal yet, but I kind of just want to set it to the side and maybe do some digital work. But at the same time, I need to continue to use this so that I know what does and does not work going forward. So maybe I'll just spend a few minutes. Yes, you're testing how long it's going to stay. The course taking has you doing all of the planning digitally for now. You need it in front of your face, though, you think. So you're considering a Kanban board on the window. Okay. I know that Post-it makes some heavy-duty stickies that like will stick to just about anything, but they are more expensive. And I don't know if you have anything on the back of your door, if your doorway has a door, or if you have a closet. Like I hung mine. This is a dry erase board that is hung with command strips to the back of the door, or front of the door, technically. And yeah. And then I just put some washi tape to create segments. But yeah. Funky says ramen. Ramen does sound good. I wonder what we're having for dinner. Mama Maggie uses generic posties and Scotch tape. Yeah, it's like I have not found a generic sticky that sticks as well. So I typically, if I'm going to use them and they're going to be around more than 5 seconds, I have to use tape. And then it just becomes kind of a irritating thing for me. So that's a me problem, though. My irritation is my problem. It is 3 o'clock already, y'all. Let's do a 25-minute sprint. And that way I'm not taking up the entirety of your Friday. But yeah. Let's do the 25-minute otter. Seawright says, I just Googled Scotch tape. I thought it would be tartan, but that's what we call sellotape. So Scotch tape, their packaging usually has like a tartan plaid. I don't know if it's any particular clan or family's plaid, or if they have their own. Yeah. So it's another one of those things where like you call it by the brand name rather than what it is. So just like I mentioned, command strips. Command is the brand name. So you thought about using a marker on the window too. Chalk markers may be, I don't know, dry erase markers depending on how juicy. But maybe paint markers might do. Paint markers. Chalk markers. Because those function essentially kind of like dry erase markers as well. So I don't know, depends. Ooh, Maggie says it started snowing where Mom Maggie is. Yay! Maybe winter has arrived at last. Maybe. Hopefully you will get enough snow to make things actually grow and not be a fire hazard. 67 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday in Colorado. Yeah. You have the peel and stick frost film that you can put on the windows too. That might work better for giving sort of like a matte texture for chalk markers, to be honest, rather than a slick surface. But yeah. Mom Maggie says, I used a dry erase marker on a glass mirror 1 year, but it smudged off too easily. Gotcha. Diane is impressed by Kara and Mom Maggie's snow. Yes, Kansas tends to get humid in summers too. The condensation can be real for sure. You need 8 feet of snow. Well, let's hope you don't get 8 feet of snow all at once. Like maybe, 2 feet here, 2 feet there. Like enough, but not an overwhelming amount. Hence the testing that Diane is doing. Yep. Mom Maggie says, hang on, Diane. Moisture is on the way. Yes. Hopefully so. I would rather the world not be on fire this summer/fall. That would be great. That would be great. If you just read this in Robin Williams' Mrs. Doubtfire voice, just, hang on, Diane, moisture's on the way. Hang on, dearie, help is on the way. That kind of thing. That's what went into my brain. Anyway. You've already had supper, wife. Yeah. Thunderstorms earlier today, not to Bunch's liking. Yeah. I don't know. It's been unseasonably warm, shall we say. So I was just mentioning to Dad the other day that if it's already this warm in February and early March, this summer is probably going to be a doozy. So anyway, but I'm not worried about that right now. Let's do another 25-minute sprint and I will hush so that we can actually get a little bit more work done. All right, let's do this. 1, save your work. 2, take a sip. Cheers. 3, straighten your spine, roll your shoulders back with that posture check. Make sure you're not slouching too much. And 4 is if you need a break, take a break. Here we go. 25 minutes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. There we go. How did you do? Hopefully you did good. Hopefully it was a nice third sprint and a nice stream in total. I did get to work on in the drafted document. I just did a tiny little bit of work in the goal journal, just to kind of make sure that I'm still caught up with my little short-term table. So yeah, and I got 519 words, which is not bad. Not bad at all. I had some lines from Robin Williams. Frosting face scene will always be your favorite, yeah. Kira's son has been learning to cook. He just made a crumb cake that's now in the oven. Ooh, delicious. You let him do everything himself, was just there to answer questions if needed. A crumb cake would be lovely. It would be delicious. Diane used to drive family crazy by singing Elmer Fudd sings Bruce Springsteen. Yep. Andy is here and waves. Hello. Swinging by to say hi. Couldn't stay. Got bits to sort out. Stacey got more reading done, and Karma is going to be home soon. Excellent. Funky got some more work writing done. Excellent. Mom Maggie 8 had the power blink. Oh no. Said hi on Jillian's stream from New Zealand. Gotcha. Hopefully your generators are all good to go, and I'm sure you've had plenty of wood for the fire if but y'all have had like such a warm winter that I don't know if you've used much of it all. So alrighty. I think that's going to be it for me today. So let's go ahead and do the poll. So we have 38% say that no, the main character did not have a childhood sweetheart because they weren't interested in love. And 31% on top of that say no, they didn't have a childhood sweetheart because they were focused on survival. And then 23% of our main characters, yes, they had a childhood love interest, and yes, they are the current love interest. And 8% say yes, they did have a sweetheart as a child, but that sweetheart is no longer in the picture. So here is Jillian's sprint. Thank you very much, Mom Maggie. I appreciate it. And don't forget to save, y'all. Make sure you save. And hopefully your first week of March has been good and productive. And hopefully next week will be even more so. All right. Esther starts in 90 minutes. Fantastic. Here's that link. Yay. Don't forget to save and have a lovely day. And I will see y'all in the chats, or I will see y'all on Monday. All right. Bye.